Hello guys, Ezra here and welcome back to what should be the final Final Fantasy VII videos, for, I guess for theorizing part 3, until maybe later on if something new came up. Because, I was hyped for part 3 even though that this game was probably still 3 years away. But you know what? I want to specifically discuss about the ending of part 3, how this old trilogy are going to at least wrap up, like, again, I'm not talking, I guess we could discuss about like maybe what Sephiroth endgame was, and how they're going to specifically end part 3, because I don't think they're going to end it the exact same way like the original ending for Final Fantasy 7. I don't think so. I think it's going to be a bit more elaborate, and it's not going to be, ambiguous ending just like the OGFF 7, for this theory that I had, about the ending, because here's the thing. We all know that in the OG FF7, the ending is that the meteor is about to crash into the planet, and then at the last moment, we see the live stream, and specifically Aerith are controlling the live stream to stop the meteor, and then the screen goes to black, and then the end credit starts. And we do get to see an after credit scene, 500 years later with Nanaki and his cops, where they get to see this like Midgard that was like taken over by basically by the nature, and it seems like there is no human left on this planet, and it was bring up in this remake trilogy, specifically the first game, where Nanaki and everybody else sees that vision, and they play the Elfen children footage, but it's essentially the same scene. And specifically, Nanaki said that, like it's basically where the future where they fell, like a glimpse of the future if we fell here today. And to me, that's like really important, for this theory that I had, how they're going to end the game. Because when I first saw the remake trilogy, and I was even expecting they're going to remake Elfen Children, and again, that could happen in the future. However, I don't think the part 3 of this remake trilogy are going to lead up directly to Elfen Children. I don't think so. I think we're gonna see some Elfen Children elements in part 3. I think that's for sure. We might see some scene from the movie, and then there is a theory that we might play that scene in the game. That would be really cool. And then also speaking of Elfen children, we also got Geostigma, right, which is basically like the virus that infected everyone in the movie, and I think Geostigma might came up in part 3. That there's also a possibility because that's what Sephiroth wanted, He wants everything to be sad and anger, just all the negative emotion that he could absorb, so there is a possibility they're going to bring back a Geostigma, and then we're going to see some scene from F1 Children in part 3, and that scene will be playable. I think that will be really cool. So I don't think the ending of part 3 is going to lead up to the F1 Children movie. I don't think so. I think there is a possibility that movie could be remake in the future, because I personally think that I like F1 Children, but the writing, the tone, the characterization for all the Final Fantasy 7 character are really weird. Tifa was okay for the most part, but there is, even then she has like one weird scene, in my opinion. But even then, so that's why I think I personally wanted a remake, but chronologically, I think the remake should be set before the remake trilogy, because I believe that this remake trilogy took place after the OG Final Fantasy VII and after, Advent Children, and I think I guess it's kind of confirmed that this remake trilogy are a sequel, and I think we're gonna get more information and answer in part 3, because I think Toriyama also answered that in the interview before, where he said that, yeah, in part 3 is gonna be like in part 3 there's gonna be more answer, there's gonna be an actual answer to this whole mystery, because it's the final game, and obviously the first two game are a setup to part 3. So it just makes sense that in the final game they're going to obviously conclude the entire thing. And I think even Toriyama himself said that he wanted the ending of part 3 to be much more emotional and much more closure for much more than the original ending, so I think there's furthermore confirmation that it's not going to be the exact same ending. I think it's going to be a much more bittersweet ending this time around, like now, like it's not going to be like 500 years that humans are dead and all of them are extinct, and it's just animals that live there, so I think for how they're going to end this part 3, because I have some idea, and I think this was based on the previous material from the compilation of Final Fantasy 7, where they are possibly going to adapt the On the Way to Smile novel. Now, granted, On the Way to Smile are like leading up to Advent Children because again, it took place like after the OG FF7, but before Advent Children because Advent Children took place 2 years later, I believe, right? So I think there is a possibility they could adapt those novel and put that scene in part three as potentially as like a mid-credit scene or like a post-credit scenes, So I think that just makes sense, because I think again the idea where the meteor is about to hit the planet and then you see all the live stream come together and then you see Arid praying inside the live stream. I think that's going to 100% happen in part three, because again they are respecting the original story, while expanding it at the same time. So I think that scene is going to be there, and it might end the same way where it's like going to black, but while on credit we are going to see some mid-credit scenes where they are going to adapt the On the Ways to Smile novels, because on that novel we are focusing on each and every single character after the event of Final Fantasy VII. We are focusing on Cloud and Tifa and Barrett, what they were doing, building out a new bar, right? And then there is Yuffie as well. There is Sid Highwind. There is Vincent Valentine. There is even the Turks. The Turks has his own chapter. There is Denzel, which is a new character, right? Which kind of makes me wonder if we're gonna see Denzel in part three. I think that will be interesting, But my whole point is that I think that it will be a good idea if they adapt those novel storyline and then like put that in part three as a mid-credit scenes, So it's not gonna be like an ambiguous ending where, oh, do we save the planet? Like, no, we did save the planet, and here's our character, like what they were doing after the events of the story. And I think they could expand the novel storyline, because I don't think this is leading up to Advent Children, because I think the whole trilogy point was supposed to be Sephiroth supposedly going back in time, or try to remaking his life, try to remake the history of Final Fantasy VII. That's the theory again. We'll see is that gonna be like entirely true, because I mean Sephiroth talks about world and time, I guess, in Rebirth, but I think in part two we actually gonna get actual answers to those, and that's really exciting. But in my opinion, again, yeah, this remake trilogy are a sequel to Advent Children and the OG FF7, and I think if they're going to wrap up this trilogy, I think it makes sense if Sephiroth permanently die in this game. So he's not gonna come back in the future games, and there's not gonna be a teaser for Geostigma. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, Geostigma could appear in part three, but it's not gonna be like a setting up to Advent Children. I don't think so. And again, we might see Advent Children scene, and we might play them, which is exciting, but it's not gonna be again leading up to directly to Advent Children storyline. I think the Advent Children storyline is not going to happen because specifically Aerith are trying to achieve the best ending possible for all the character. Because what happened in Advent Children 2 years later, Cloud is still depressed. He's still feeling really sad that he's not able to save Aerith and Zack. And he thinks that he was a failure. So like everybody's life in Advent Children was not happy, because again there is geostigma that's infecting everyone was sick. Cloud is not happy because he's feeling guilty, so like not everything is happy in Advent Children. And I don't think this version of Aerith that we see in Rebirth, that basically knows everything, I don't think she really wanted that ending. So I think it would make sense if this ending of part three is again, it's not directly leading to Advent Children, but it's going to be an actual conclusion to this story where Sephiroth permanently die, and then we see all our character living a happy moment. One of the examples is, again, I don't know if they're going to do this, but just imagine if Cloud and Tifa gets married, and have a family. Like that would be a beautiful ending for Cloud and Tifa. But again, I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. I personally wanted that, but I guess we'll see what's gonna happen. So, like the whole point of this. Look, my point is, I think they are going to give all this character a bittersweet ending. Yes, they lost so much in this storyline. However, by the end of part three, it's gonna be a bittersweet ending where they achieve something that finally makes them happy in their life. So I think it's gonna be a total like a really bittersweet ending to all the characters, and it's not going to setting up for like another conflict with Sephiroth, because again, I think Sephiroth is going to permanently die in part three. That's just my opinion, I know there's some of you really wanted to see like the Advent Children storyline, and again, I think the Advent Children element are going to appear in part three. That just makes sense to me. The Geostigma could appear in part three, so I think that's where you get your Advent Children moment in part three. I don't think they're going to set up another movie for Advent Children, even though again, I personally wanted a remake of Advent Children, because I think with how Nojima was able to write this character, which is again, they were way better than they were before. I think he has a lot of experience for writing this character. He gets to know this character way better than before. So I wouldn't personally mind if they remaking another, or like making another Advent Children movie in the future, like a straight up remake of the 2005 Advent Children movie, because I think there is a lot of room to improve there. Again, for the storyline, for the writing of the characters, for the characterization of everything. I think there is a lot of room to improve there. So I wanted the remake to see that elements to get improved, except for the action, because I think the action is still fantastic to this day. It still really holds up. But again, this is my personal taste, my personal opinions. I know some of you are disagreeing with me, because some of you maybe wanted the ending to lead up directly to F1 Children, but I don't think that's going to happen, But again, that's just a theory, it might happen. Who knows, who knows at this point? But it's pretty exciting to theorizing this ending for part 3, and I think the final scene could be like a callback to the OG scenes in the OG Final Fantasy 7, where we see Nanaki and his cubs are going over to Midgar, right? We could potentially see some similar scenes in Remake Part 3. However, the differences is that we are going to see like a functional city with a lot of people in it. Basically humanity survived after 500 years, and like we still live on this planet. Because I think from the first remake, it was pretty clear that Nanaki said that this was a bad ending, where humanity doesn't exist 500 years later, basically went extinct. That was not a good ending. That was a bad ending. So I think we might get that similar scene, but except this time around, we actually see a functional city with all with people obviously living in it. So humanity is still surviving, still striving after 500 years. So I think that would be like the final scenes in part 3. That would be a cool comparison to the original scene, in my opinion. It will be a much more positive scenes. As for the theory for Sephiroth Endgame, I think Sephiroth Endgame will be him trying to create a new reality, or like a new world for himself, or I guess for everybody on the planet in a way. Because I think the impression that I get from the planet or the live stream is that everybody has like a predetermined fate or destiny for every single life that was in the planet, and I think Sephiroth doesn't like that, and he wanted to change that so he could have his own life, in like basically having a second chance, because again, like we know from Ever Crisis, his childhood is messed up, and we're gonna see that again in episode 2, how weird and messed up his life was, like, again, being controlled by Hojo, being manipulated by Genova in a way. So like he's not himself for the most part of his life. He's just like following orders. He's just following what other people want, he's never building his own mindset throughout his entire life, so that's why I think that's what Sephiroth wanted to potentially destroying this planet and maybe creating a new one, And I know that's like insane and probably doesn't even make sense, But again, it's just a theory, because I think that's like the fun part, theorizing this, what is Sephiroth Endgame, Because I think for me, after knowing Ever Crisis, that just makes sense to me that he wanted to create a new reality so he can have a second chance on his life, And of course, I want to bring also the Gina talk scene from Cosmo Canyon, because like the Gina talk never actually got a chance to basically rest in peace, or like return to the planet, because they are not from this planet, just like Genova was not from this planet, and I think that's why the planet doesn't accept them on the live stream, because again, they're not alive from this planet. They are aliens, essentially, and that's why they create the black materia, so they can potentially actually die, actually move on to the afterlife, which I think a very interesting story by Gina talk, obviously, and I think, and again, maybe Sephiroth and Gina talk are going to work together, to achieve the goal, because like maybe the end game will be like, well, Sephiroth again create a new world, where essentially everybody was accepted into the planet, maybe, and then he has a second chance to live his life, and then for Gina talk, his clan was able to move on to the afterlife finally after all these years in purgatory. That's my theory, and I know that some people doesn't like that, because like that's kind of like removing the evilness from Sephiroth, and then you kind of like rooting for him, or I guess like sympathizing with him. But here's the thing, he's gonna be like, again, like I said before, he's gonna be like the Thanos on Final Fantasy 7, because I'm pretty sure if he's going to create a new world, the old world needs to be destroyed. Miss Win, Cloud, and everybody else are probably going to die. Even though he does said in Remake that, I will not end, nor will I have you end, But like, is he just specifically talking about Cloud and Cloud himself, or he actually said, oh, like, no, everybody on the planet are going to come to this new world, or like this new reality that I'm going to create, like I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's gonna be him and maybe Cloud. For again, for some reason, Cloud is going to come together with Sephiroth and then to this new reality potentially, because that's the dialogue from the first game, and again, I know these theories are insane, pretty insane, and then of course some people will disagree, and that's fine. I think that's the fun part for theorizing what Sephiroth Endgame was, because that's what I believe, that's what Maximilian believed, that he's going to create this new reality potentially, and then again, people basically have their own choice, doesn't exactly predetermined by the planet, but then again, I want to ask you guys, does it ever confirmed by maybe the developers or the Final Fantasy 7 Ultimania, where they explain the live stream, like is the live stream actually like a predetermined path or fate by everybody else that lives in this planet, so it's like, oh, Zack are going to die no matter what, or Eric are going to die no matter what, like is it actually decided by the live stream slash the planet, or is it actually something else, because again, that's the impression that I get from the live stream, from obviously from the planet of Final Fantasy 7, it's like everybody has a determined path, a determined fate, essentially, and the Sephiroth wanted to change that because obviously he doesn't like his life, he wants that a second chance, so like that's my theory for how Sephiroth, what Sephiroth Endgame was, and of course the Gina talk will probably be also playing some roles into Sephiroth's goal in the end, because like, I think they both wanted the same thing essentially, whereas like Gina talk wants to move on, he wants to rest in peace, he wants to basically out of this purgatory, and then Sephiroth wanted a second life, which is again a selfish choice, because I'm pretty sure that he's going to have killed everybody in this world so he can create a new one, maybe just again, just like Thanos from Endgame, right? But yeah, there's as for the meteor, I guess like that's gonna be another mystery, that why would Sephiroth need the giant meteor, like is it going to absorb the power, maybe? Because again, the meteor summoning is going to happen, like that's going to happen, like this planet is going to be destroyed, and maybe that's the case, maybe the reason why the meteor was summoned in the first place is not just destroying the planet and then Sephiroth are going to absorb the live stream just to become powerful, but no, maybe he's going to destroy the planet, absorb the live stream, and use that power to create a new world this time around, a new world that he actually can control, and then again he could have a second chance in his life, like maybe that's the case, who knows, I think it's pretty exciting to think about that Sephiroth has his own goal now, and not just like, I'm gonna destroy the world so I can become powerful and then that's it, ha ha ha, like I don't think that's going to be the case anymore, I think it's gonna be much more elaborate on his goal, and I think again he might create a new reality so he can have a second chance, and again, that's just my theory for what Sephiroth Endgame was, so I think it's a pretty exciting things to theorize about. So yeah, guys, let me know in the comment section below, guys, what do you guys think about this remake ending theory that I had, for part 3, do you guys actually like this idea where they're going to adapt the On the Way to Smile novel and put that scene in part 3 as a mid-credit scenes, and then the final scene is gonna be a contrast to the original scenes where we actually see a functional city and human actually surviving after 500 years, do you guys agree that would be like the best ending, the best way to ending part 3? Or do you guys prefer the classic ending from the obviously from the OG FF7, where we just see the live stream and Aerith just like stopping the meteor, and then that's it, and of course, like, let me know, guys, like, what do you guys think about Sephiroth Endgame? Do you guys have any theory about Sephiroth Endgame? Then let me know, guys, in the comment section below, because I would love to hear your theory about the how they're going to end part 3, and how and what is Sephiroth's Endgame, I would love to hear your opinions on that, and you guys have your own idea how part 3 should end, then also let me know in the comment section below, guys, because again, I would love to hear all of that, this is pretty exciting for me. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure, guys, slash the subscribe button and like button, share videos, the usual stuff, and I guess yeah, stay tuned for more videos in the future, guys, and again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye.